Today I'm going to be filming what I would call is quite a natural makeup look, and I think a look like this is great for every day and a perfect makeup look for work or if you've got an interview. And I happen to be using a lot of cream products in this makeup tutorial, so I hope you like it. First up, I'm going to be using Milk Makeup's Blur Stick, which is a blurifying primer, and I'm going to concentrate that down my T-zone and either side of my nose where my pores are quite visible. And for my base, I am going to be using Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Touch Foundation, and I'm using the shade 40, and I'm going to be using the sponge applicator to apply it. And this is a great foundation if you really want a natural finish, because the coverage is pretty sheer and it has a really beautiful glowy radiant finish. So if you're one that likes a lot of coverage with your base, then this probably isn't going to be for you, and this is probably more of a foundation for those that already have good skin and just kind of want a little bit of evening out. And then I'm going to move on to my brows, and for that I'm going to be using the Stila Stay All Day Waterproof Brown Colour in the shade Dark. But first of all, I'm going to just brush through them using a spoolie. This brush tip pen is so fine that it is great for mimicking hairs in your brows, and what I love about it is that it is totally waterproof, so you don't need to worry about it smudging or smearing throughout the day. I do find that it is very pigmented, so you have to use a very light hand. And I like to keep a cotton bud or Q-tip very close by whilst I'm using this, so I can correct any mistakes really easily. And with the inner part of my brow, which you can see I'm trying to fill in here, I barely apply any pressure at all because I don't want them to look too heavy or too blocky at the front. And then I'll quickly go in with the spoolie just to make sure to soften out the product so that it doesn't look too harsh. It's not the quickest brow product to use, so if you're pushed for time, then probably skip this pen and use a more conventional pencil or a powder. But if you do have the time and you really want your brows to look on point, then I definitely recommend getting this pen. Then I'm going to go in with L'Oreal's Brow Artist Plumper and just set my brows in place, and just to add a little bit of texture to the brows too. Then moving on to concealing the darkness under my eyes, I'm going to be using the Kate Somerville Illuminate Concealing Eye Cream in the shade Medium, and this is kind of like a light to medium coverage concealer. It's really lightweight and very easy to blend, so I find it quite a good option for an everyday under eye concealer. Then I'm going to quickly give my lashes a curl using the Sheer Mirror eyelash curlers. For my eyes, I'm going to be using one of my Holy Grail products from MAC, and it is their Paint Pot in the shade Groundwork. It's a beautiful silky cream formulation that glides on the eyes like a dream and blends really easily. And the shade Groundwork on me is kind of like a cool tone taupey brown. I would normally stop there for an everyday eye look, but I felt like adding a little bit more dimension for this tutorial, so I am going in with Chanel's Ombre Premier Longwear Cream Eyeshadow in the shade Undertone, which is a warm earthy gold, and I'm just applying that to the very center of the lid so that when the light catches it, it will just give that really nice subtle sheen. To really define my eyes, I'm going to go in with Colourpop's Cream Gel Liner in Swerve, which is a matte black, and I tend to prefer to start my eyeliner at the midpoint of my lash line and drag outwards, as I don't like the line to be too thick towards the inner corner of my eye. And then I like to draw in a little bit of a small flick. I tend to find that pulling the corner of my eye out ever so slightly tends to help with getting the angle of the flick right. And then at the same time, I also like to tightline my waterline, and I can never do this with my eyes closed like a lot of people can, so I have to kind of keep them open, and I know it's pretty gross looking. And as always, I like to keep a Q-tip or cotton bud on standby just to kind of neaten things up. And then for that kind of smudgy, effortless look, I like to go in with a dense flat brush and just smudge away at that liner so that it gives a more softer effect. This means that you don't really need to worry about being too neat with your line because it's going to get smudged in anyway. So if you're pushed for time but are determined to wear eyeliner, then this is a pretty neat trick. And the Colourpop gel liners are pretty great because they last all day without smudging or smearing, and they don't transfer on the waterline as well. So it's a really great product and at such an affordable price point too. For mascara, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Better Than Sex waterproof mascara. Then moving on to my lower lash line, I'm going to be using the Colourpop Cream Gel Liner in Call Me, which is a dark matte brown. And for an everyday look, I tend to like to use brown on the lower lash line because I find it a little bit more softer. Black can look a bit too harsh, and I tend to like to reserve that for kind of evenings out or when I really want my eyes to be dramatic. And then to smudge out that liner, I'm using the By Terry Ombre Black Star in the shade Perfect Brown. And as you can see, I applied a little bit too much product, but nothing that a cotton bud wouldn't sort out. Then I'm going to apply some mascara to my bottom lashes also. Then I'm going to try very hard to apply some false lashes, and these ones are by Fleur de Force and Eyelure. I think they're the style called Fleur Loves. Moving on to concealing the blemishes around my face, I am using the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in the shade Macadamia. I tend to get a lot of redness around my nose and some unsightly broken capillaries, so I like to cover them up. And I'm just using a damp sponge. This one is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, just to blend that concealer work in. Then moving on to one of my favourite products of the moment, this is the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer in the shade Baked, and it's a cream bronzer, and I am using a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to apply that to my face. I'm going to use it to kind of contour and bronze up the skin at the same time. And I'm not going to lie, it does take a bit of time when working with this product because you kind of have to build up the pigment. Even though it applies quite heavily, it shears out very, very quickly. So in order to build up the depth of color that I like, I have to go in at least a couple more times. And just like when working with any powdered bronzer, I like to kind of extend that up along the temple and across the hairline, as well as take it down the jawline and the neck as well, just to make sure everything looks a bit unified and cohesive. And also because it looks more of a natural tan that way rather than just applying it to your cheeks. It also takes time when working with this product because you have to make sure to blend out the edges as well so that it's seamless with your skin. And sometimes the product can lift as well, so that can be a little bit annoying. So you've got to make sure to kind of go back and fill in any patches. And to really define that cheekbone, I like to concentrate most of the products under the hollow of my cheek, and then any residual product from the brush is taken up along the hairline and along the jawline and down the neck. Then to add colour to the cheeks, I am going to go in with Milk Makeup's Lip and Cheek in the shade Rally. It looks quite scary in the applicator, but the colour really does sheer out when you apply it to the skin, just like the bronzer. And I take the tiniest amount and apply it to the apples of my cheek, and then try and work the colour in with the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. Again, it has that lifting issue, so you kind of have to be patient and make sure to blend it in seamlessly. And when I've got most of the colour down, I like to go in with my finger and just blend away at the edges so that there are no kind of harsh lines. Then to add a little bit of subtle glow to the skin, I'm going to be using the Milk Makeup highlighter in the shade Lit, and here I'm going to be using my fingers to apply that to the high points of my cheekbone. I find this is probably the easiest way to apply the product, and I also like to extend that highlighter to above and below the arch of my brow as well. And I find tilting my head towards the light always helps me to find where I should be applying that highlighter for that really natural effect. Then I'm going to go in and set my under eye concealer using the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. And I'm just using again the damp Real Techniques Miracle Complexion sponge to apply that. And then taking a powder brush by Eco Tools, I am applying a light layer to the rest of my face, especially as I've used cream products and I don't really want the product to smudge or smear throughout the day. And then moving on to my lips, I am going to be filling them in with the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat Lip Liner in the shade Pillow Talk, before going in with Tom Ford's Ultra Rich Lip Colour Lipstick in the shade Revolve Around Me, which is a beautiful nude shade. And voila, this is my natural-ish everyday makeup look, which I think is great for, you know, work or whether you've got interviews. I probably wouldn't wear the false lashes, but otherwise I really like this look. So if you enjoyed watching this video, then please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet subscribed, then you would absolutely make my day if you did, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye.